Hello everyone and welcome to Retro Nate Reviews. I'm Retro Nate and today we're taking a look at the 1987 Konami Arcade Classic Contra and its home console ports. Developed by Konami in 1987, Contra, also known as Geyser and Probotector, is an amazing run-and-gun action game, a bullet hell type side-scroll shooter like none other. The original arcade game, although rather short in nature, is still a quarter-munching machine and tough as nails to play through. Its plot, as simple as it is, in the year 2633, two armed elite marine commandos, Contra, named Bill and Lance, are sent on a mission to neutralize a terrorist organization called Red Falcon that is secretly planning to take over the entire world, and it's up to you in this two-man army to put an end to this madness once and for all. But it's not just the human forces of Red Falcon you have to contend with, but also the evil alien menace they have unleashed. But enough about the game, let's take a look. As the hero, it is up to you to run from left to right and shoot everything that moves, including some things that don't. The first boss of the game, a wall with a door that you must shoot your way through, is equipped only with a pair of turrets and a guard across the top, poses little threat, and is easily dispatched. And in between main levels, you have interior sections of the game where you have to blast your way through the different hallways and destroy everything that gets in your way to proceed. The Stage 2 boss is comprised of several weak spots defending a pair of turrets that's then defending a secret turret up above, and the real heart of the boss. Stage 3 unveils some serious platforming as you have to jump your way up through, dodging everything that you can. Until you reach the third stage boss, probably the easiest boss in the entire game. Blast your way through and take the top off. It's inside from there. As you can see a pattern forming here after each side-scrolling stage, an interior stage that's top-down proceeds. Each time getting a little bit harder and a little more chaotic. The fourth stage boss, a series of troops running across the back and easily hit defense points in front, then rounding out with a pair of transmorphing targets up above that shoot homing blobs at you across the way. Overall, one of the more annoying bosses throughout the game. Finally, we reach the frozen forest. Grenades are tossed over the tree line at you, and you have no choice but to dodge them and the bullets that are being fired at you. These armored trucks offer just enough time for you to destroy them if you get in just the right position beforehand. Now, I don't know why this large football player is here, but he is angry and he is out for armored revenge. Just dodge his spiked footballs and blast away until there's nothing left. Most arcade machines have the life count set at 3, and you only get 2 continues when playing through this entire game, forcing you to start all the way back at the beginning no matter how many quarters you had in your pocket. Once you make your way through the quarter-munching gauntlet of flamethrowers and spiked balls, then it's only a short run from here. As the military base and scenery ends, that's when you realize that you've progressed into the alien hive itself. Blast your way through the last forces of Red Falcon, that's when you realize you come face to face with the alien queen. blasting your way literally inside her. You have to work your way to the Alien Queen's heart and destroy her once and for all. As you can see, heavy influences from the Alien series here. Destroy the Alien Queen, and then the day has been saved, at least for now. And no congratulations, no end screen, nothing. The game just cuts straight to the credits, but that's alright. It's an amazing arcade game and a classic in its own right. In 1988, this amazing arcade game was brought home to the consoles at the time. First up, we'll take a look at the abysmal port to the Commodore 64. As with all Commodore 64 games, a certain amount of patience is required, as the loading times are beyond reason. And finally, we are greeted with the best part of the entire game itself, the intro song. But don't worry, you get plenty of time to enjoy it because we're not done with the loading screens. That was just the loading screen for the title. Just wait. Finally, the entire title screen has finished loading. For the next minute and a half, you get to enjoy this screen while the Commodore 64 attempts to load this game from its tape. Almost there. And after all that waiting, what do we get? Another load screen. You see, this time gives the player plenty of opportunity to consider other systems than the Commodore 64. In fact, this offers the player enough time to consider and reconsider a lot of life choices at this point. And after another solid minute of painful waiting, we finally get to the top menu. I wouldn't be bragging much about the coding if I had anything to do with this myself, but hey, what do I know? Finally, the game is ready to be played after about 6-7 minutes of actual loading. Now, I know what you're all thinking. After 7 minutes of waiting, this better be good, but no. Sadly, it's Contra without the ability to jump. Not to mention the terrible blocky graphics that is about grinding the Commodore 64 to a halt. Otherwise, though, it's recognizable as Contra, kind of. And if you can get past the major faults in this game, like largely the lacking ability of jump, then you're a lot better gamer than I. Sadly, I couldn't get very far in this. Now, next up we have the port to the Amstrad CPU. Now, after a comparably short load time, we are greeted with the title screen, lacking any music at all, and you'll have to get used to that with the Amstrad here. After a brief moment, we're greeted with the titular characters. Lance and Bill are Contra members themselves. Now, the first thing that you'll notice, aside from the lack of music, as well as the blocky graphics, is that there's no scrolling here, that the game has to load the next screen as you move towards the edge, making it very hard to play a Contra game this way. Thankfully, the guys at Amstrad were able to code a jump button into the game, making a huge improvement over the Commodore 64 version. But overall, between the lagging controls and the terrible graphics, lack of sound, this is a very poor man's port of the Arcade Classic. Stiff controls and turrets that won't die are just some of the problems faced with this version. The first boss that ordinarily puts a little resistance is, in fact, a deadly challenge. You can even say that I hit a wall. But don't worry, die-hard Contra fans, in 1988 for the Nintendo Home Entertainment System, Contra was released. A true and worthy port of the Arcade Classic has finally come home. Now, Contra is known for a lot of things, but the number one fact would have to be the Konami code was created, because this game was just so hard for testing and development they had to put it in. Not only does the NES port bring home the feeling and gameplay of the Arcade Classic, but it also does so with the limited NES hardware pushed to the max. All of the weapons from the arcade are here and fully functional, although some, like the laser, are next to unusable if you actually want to stay alive. I'd recommend the machine gun and the spread fire. top of bringing home the arcade feeling, the NES console port actually manages to add new levels and change out some of the bosses into new and more interesting versions. Stage 1 boss, the Armored Wall, is represented fairly well and accurately from its arcade counterpart, and is dispatched just as easily. Even the interior levels are reproduced here in their mock 3D fashion. One noticeable but meaningless change to the internal levels is the lack of turns as well as the map, but neither of that has any effect on the actual gameplay. Boss is represented well and very recognizable, plays out very much the same as its arcade counterpart. Now on to Stage 3, the aptly named Waterfall. As you can see, many of the levels have been increased in size and duration here, actually doubling the overall game's size and length. reimaginings of the bosses in Contra. This alien is not happy to see you. Once that ugly alien is delimbed and beheaded, we can head inside. And from here it's more of the same, jumping and shooting and blasting your way through the interior level. And after a considerable length of hallways, we finally reached the next boss. Another faithful and annoying recreation of the arcade boss itself. Now onto the snowfield, full of cheap deaths and nearly unavoidable explosions. Once again, we're faced with the armored trucks, and once again they give you just enough time if you're standing in the right place to dispatch them. Face the next boss, a bomb-dropping, orb-chucking, floating platform of doom. And after tearing it to pieces, it's on to the next level. About this point that the game starts ramping up the difficulty by adding multiple cheap deaths, flame spouts, all kinds of things to kill you as quick as possible. Once we survive that terrible gauntlet that will put even the Konami code to the test, we're faced off with the next boss, the football player. I still don't understand why he's here or where he came from, but he is a lot angrier in the console version than in the arcade, that's for sure. Now, once he's dead, it's on to Stage 7, the Hangar. Fight our way through another cheap death gauntlet filled with dropping spiked arms and railway carts. It's about this point that we realize how much Konami cranked up the difficulty factor here. All of that, we're faced with the next boss, another wall. And after surviving all of that chaos, we've finally reached the alien lair. Head of the alien queen is in sight. Now we'll just have to blast our way through from here. We just have to survive the last attacks of the alien and make our way to its heart. discount pocket game face huggers. Open fire on the hardcore blast. And that's it for Red Falcon and the Alien Menace. So now it's time to hop in our chopper and get the heck out of here. And for our trouble, we are congratulated for our effort, and also consider ourselves a hero. In conclusion, Contra on the NES not only captures the original arcade game's fun feel and style, but manages to upgrade and improve upon the formula. By nearly doubling the actual amount of game here, as well as increasing the difficulty to a level at which only the infamous Konami code can save you from, this game not only brings home the Contra experience, but makes the Contra experience, as well as is one of the Nintendo classics to be loved today, tomorrow, and forever. Contra on the NES is by far the best and most definitive version of Contra, and set the groundwork for many, many sequels to come. It's very rare for the home port of an arcade game to be superior to its original. This is one of the few cases that holds true. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you next game. And remember, like and subscribe. Thank you kindly.